Ambassador Tae-Jin Sung stood in the center of the massive hall. The ceiling stretched so high he could barely see it. Around him, 12 different alien species sat on floating platforms that moved slowly in a circle. Each alien looked down at him like he was a bug they might step on. The hall was silent except for the soft humming of the platforms. Tae-Jin's hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. He had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 10 years. Today might be his last day doing this job. Chancellor Vexmore of the Hegemony spoke first. His voice was deep and came from 3 different mouths on his face. Human representative, you stand before the Galactic Council to receive our final decision about your species. Tae-Jin nodded. I am here to listen, Chancellor. Your people have spread to 17 worlds beyond your home system. This expansion ends now. You have 30 standard cycles to remove all humans from these colonies. Return to your single world and stay there. The other aliens made sounds that Tae-Jin knew meant agreement. The tall, thin creatures from Altair clicked their metal fingers together. The floating jellyfish-like beings from the outer rim glowed brighter. All of them thought this was fair. And if we refuse? Tae-Jin asked. Chancellor Vexmore's 3 mouths all smiled at the same time. It was not a nice smile. Then we will help you return to your proper place. We call this pacification. It has never failed. Far away from the council station, Dr. Jin-Ho Lee sat in a dark room filled with screens. He was watching everything through a hidden camera in Tae-Jin's jacket. His fingers moved quickly over his keyboard, recording every word and every face. They really think we're that weak, he said to his assistant. 50 years of acting helpless, and they still believe it. On the main screen, Chancellor Vexmore was still talking. Your species fights too much. You have wars on your own planet. You build weapons instead of art. You are not ready for galactic civilization. Dr. Jin-Ho Lee laughed quietly. The aliens had no idea what humans were really like. They thought Earth's history of war was a weakness. They were about to learn it was humanity's greatest strength. Back in the council hall, Tae-Jin kept his face calm. May I ask how many species have chosen pacification over surrender? None, said a reptile-like alien from the Science Council. All civilized species see the wisdom in our guidance. Only primitive worlds need pacification, and they do not survive it. The aliens made their agreement sounds again. They had done this many times before. A new species would discover space travel, try to expand, and then get told to stop. Smart species listened. Stupid species got destroyed. Captain Hyunwoo Kim received the transmission on his ship, the EDF Incheon. The ship looked like a simple cargo vessel from the outside. Inside it was packed with weapons that could destroy small moons. Sir, said his communications officer, Ambassador Sung is asking for our response. Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display. All around the solar system, hidden sensors showed other ships just like his. They all looked like cargo ships, mining vessels, or research craft. The aliens had been watching Earth for years and had never noticed that every single human ship could fight. Tell the Admiral we're ready, Hyunwoo said. All ships report ready for activation. Admiral So-Min Park stood in the secret command center built inside an asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. The room was huge, filled with holographic displays showing every human ship, every human colony, and every alien position in known space, ma'am, said her aide. We have confirmation from all colonial governors. The defense forces are in position, so Min smiled. The aliens thought human colonies were just farms and mining sites with a few thousand helpless settlers. They had no idea that each colony had at least 50,000 trained soldiers and enough hidden weapons to fight off a fleet. She pressed a button and spoke into her microphone. This is Admiral Park to all Earth Defense Forces. Today the galaxy learns what happens when you threaten human families. Activate all hidden systems. Wake up the fleet. Across the solar system, things that looked like asteroids opened up to show massive weapons. Ships that had been sleeping in the shadows of planets turned on their engines. Space stations that seemed to be mining facilities revealed gun batteries that could punch holes through battleships. In the council hall, Tae-Jin was still listening to the aliens explain why humans needed to go back to Earth and stay there forever. Your species is too violent, said a blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. You solve problems with force. Civilized beings use cooperation and peaceful discussion. We have brought peace to 300 worlds, added Chancellor Vexmore. Before we arrived, they fought each other constantly. Now they live in harmony under our guidance. Tae-Jin nodded politely. The aliens really believed their own words. They thought they were saving the galaxy from chaos. They had no idea that their peace was just fear. Worlds that were too scared to fight back were not really peaceful. I understand your position, Taijin said. I will take your message back to Earth. Good, said Chancellor Vexmore. You have 30 cycles. Use them wisely. Taijin bowed and turned to leave. As he walked toward the exit, he could hear the aliens talking among themselves. They were already planning how to divide up the human colonies after the humans left. Some wanted the mining rights. Others wanted the farmland. None of them were planning for war. In his secret command center, Dr. Jin-Ho Lee was finishing his analysis of the Council's fleet positions. The aliens were powerful, but they had made a huge mistake. They put all their ships in obvious places, following patterns that had worked for hundreds of years. They never expected anyone to fight back, so they never learned to hide. Admiral, he said into his communicator, I have a complete map of their forces. They have no idea what's coming. Admiral So-Min Park looked at the holographic display showing Earth. Her homeworld looked peaceful and quiet. The alien spy satellites showed normal civilian traffic, normal communications, normal life. They could not see the weapons hidden in every asteroid, the soldiers waiting in every colony, or the warships disguised as cargo haulers. 50 years of careful planning had led to this moment. Send the response, she ordered. Back on the council station, Taijin received a message on his personal communicator. It was just 2 words: humanity declines. He walked back into the council hall where the aliens were still discussing which human worlds they wanted most. Chancellor Vexmore noticed him first. Human, why have you returned? Did you forget something? Taijin stood in the center of the hall again. This time he was smiling. Chancellor, I have Earth's response to your generous offer. Excellent. Your people have chosen wisdom. Which ships will you need to evacuate your colonies? Actually, Taijin said, his smile getting bigger, humanity respectfully declines. The hall went completely silent. No species had ever said no to the Galactic Council. Not once in 300 years. Chancellor Vexmore's 3 mouths all opened wide. You decline? Yes, we're quite happy where we are, thank you. The silence stretched on. Then Chancellor Vexmore began to laugh. Soon all the aliens were laughing. They thought this was the funniest thing they had ever heard. They would not be laughing for long. 50 years earlier, when the first alien ship appeared near Earth, Dr. Jin-Ho Lee was just a young scientist working at the Seoul Institute of Technology. He was in the room when humanity made first contact with the beings who called themselves the Galactic Council. The aliens seemed friendly. They offered trade, technology, and membership in their great civilization. All Earth had to do was follow their rules and accept their guidance. Most world leaders were excited. Dr. Jin-Ho Lee was terrified. Sir, he had told his supervisor after the first meeting, I've been studying their history files. Every species they've contacted follows the same pattern. First contact, trade agreements, slow expansion, then sudden restrictions and pacification if they refuse. His supervisor laughed. You're too suspicious, Jin-Ho. These beings have technology we can't even understand. Why would they lie to us? But Dr. Jin-Ho Lee kept studying. He learned alien languages and read their historical records. The pattern was always the same. A new species would discover space travel and start expanding. The council would contact them and offer friendship. For a few decades, everything would go well. Then the council would decide the new species was growing too fast or becoming too independent. They would demand the species return to their homeworld. If they refused, the council would destroy them. 300 species had met the council. 37 had refused to go back to their homeworlds. None of those 37 species existed anymore. Dr. Jin-Ho Lee took his research to the Earth Defense Force. We need to prepare for war, he told them. Not now, but in about 50 years. That's when they'll try to stop our expansion. Most military leaders thought he was crazy, but a few listened. Admiral So-Min Park was one of them. She was just a captain back then, but she understood what Dr. Jin-Ho Lee was saying. If we're going to survive, she said, we need to make them think we're weak while we get strong in secret. So began the greatest deception in human history. Lieutenant Yuna Choi was born into this secret world. Her parents were both EDF officers, but to the aliens, they were simple cargo ship pilots. Yuna grew up learning 2 sets of skills. Officially, she studied agriculture and mining engineering. Secretly, she trained as a reconnaissance pilot and tactical analyst. When she turned 25, Una got her first real mission. She would pilot a civilian cargo ship on a trade route that would take her through 12 different alien systems. Her job was to map every military base, every fleet position, and every weakness she could find. Remember, her commanding officer told her, "You're just a young human trader looking to make money. Be friendly, curious, and harmless. Let them teach you things. Ask lots of questions, but make them think you're just trying to learn their culture." Una spent 3 years traveling through alien space. She visited military bases as a tourist. She asked innocent questions about ship design while trading for exotic foods. She smiled and laughed when alien officers explained their tactics, thinking she was too stupid to understand what they were really telling her. The aliens loved talking to humans. They thought humans were like children, eager to learn but not smart enough to be dangerous. Una encouraged this belief. She would stare in wonder at their weapons and ask how they worked. She would nod excitedly when they explained their battle formations. All the while, she was recording everything with hidden cameras and sending encrypted reports back to Earth. Captain Hyunwoo Kim was part of the construction project that would change everything. While aliens thought humans were building simple cargo ships and mining vessels, Earth's shipyards were actually creating the most advanced military fleet in the galaxy. Every human ship had 2 designs. The outer hull looked exactly like what it was supposed to be, a cargo hauler, a research vessel, or a passenger transport. But inside, hidden behind false walls and disguised compartments, were weapons and systems that the aliens had never seen before. The genius was in the details. Human ships used hybrid technology that combined alien science with human military thinking. Where alien ships were built for straight-line combat between honorable opponents, human ships were designed for ambush tactics, surprise attacks, and fighting dirty. "Look at this," Hyunwoo said to his chief engineer while they worked on the engine. He pointed to a section of the ship's hull that looked like a normal cargo bay. "Push this button, and the entire wall slides away to reveal torpedo launchers." The aliens have never seen anything like this because they always fight fair. The aliens believed in rules. They announced their attacks. They fought from the front. They gave their enemies time to surrender. They thought this made them civilized. Humans had studied every war in their history and learned a different lesson. The best way to win a fight was to make sure your enemy never saw it coming. Dr. Jin-Ho Lee coordinated the intelligence gathering from his secret facility on the dark side of the moon. Every piece of information from scouts like Una Choi, every technical detail stolen from alien computers, every weakness discovered by human engineers, it all came to him. "Admiral," he reported to So-Min Park during one of their monthly briefings, "we now have complete tactical analyses of all 12 Council species. I can tell you exactly how fast their ships move, what weapons they carry, and most importantly, how they think about combat." "And?" Admiral So-Min Park asked. "They're incredibly powerful, but they're also predictable. They use the same formations, the same tactics, and the same command structures they've used for centuries. They've never had to adapt because no one has ever really fought back." "What about their technology?" "Advanced but standardized. Every ship in their fleet uses the same basic systems. If we can hack one, we can hack them all." And Una found something interesting. They don't use firewalls or security systems on their military networks because they've never been attacked by cyber warfare. Admiral So-Min Park smiled. "You mean they don't know that other species might try to break into their computers? They don't even have a word for it in most of their languages." While Dr. Jin-Ho Lee gathered intelligence and Hyunwoo built secret warships, Admiral So-Min Park was working on the biggest deception of all: the human colonies. To the aliens, Earth's colonies were exactly what they appeared to be: farming communities, mining operations, and research stations populated by peaceful civilians. The Council's spy satellites showed families working in fields, children playing in parks, and normal civilian life. What the satellites could not see were the underground bunkers filled with weapons, the hidden starfighter squadrons, and the fact that every single civilian was actually a trained soldier. "The beauty of it," Admiral So-Min Park explained to her staff, "is that we're not really lying. These people are farmers and miners and researchers. They just happen to also be the most elite military force humanity has ever created." Each colony was designed to look helpless while being nearly impossible to capture. The farms were real, but they were also perfect camouflage for missile silos. The mining equipment was functional. but it could be quickly converted into fortress weapons. The schools taught children about literature and mathematics, but they also trained them in combat tactics and survival skills. The aliens saw what they expected to see, a young species trying to build a peaceful life among the stars. They had no idea they were looking at the largest military buildup in galactic history. Ambassador Tai-Jin Sung played his role perfectly. For 10 years, he attended council meetings as Earth's diplomat. He was polite, respectful, and just a little bit naive. He asked for advice on governing human colonies. He requested help with technical problems. He made sure the aliens thought humans were grateful for their guidance. All the while, he was studying the aliens themselves. How they made decisions, who had real power, what they feared, what made them angry. The key, he reported to Admiral Somin Park, is that they genuinely believe they're helping the galaxy. They don't see themselves as conquerors. They think they're teachers helping primitive students learn to be civilized. That's useful, the Admiral replied. Righteous enemies are often careless enemies. They don't expect the people they're helping to fight back. Now, as Tai-Jin stood in the council hall delivering humanity's refusal, 50 years of preparation was finally coming to an end. The aliens were still laughing at the idea that humans would dare to say no. Captain Hyunwoo Kim received the signal he had been waiting for his entire adult life. All across the solar system, disguised warships were powering up their hidden weapons. On 17 human colonies, civilians were opening sealed orders and taking their positions at battle stations. Dr. Jin-Ho Lee activated the computer viruses his team had been secretly placing in alien networks for decades. Soon, the Council would discover that humans had been watching them just as closely as they had been watching Earth. Lieutenant Yuna, Choi climbed into the cockpit of her starfighter, a ship the aliens had never seen because it had been hidden inside her cargo vessel for 3 years. Around her, dozens of other pilots were doing the same thing. Admiral Somin Park stood in her command center and looked at the holographic display showing the positions of every human ship and every alien fleet in known space. For 50 years, humanity had been playing a careful game, pretending to be weak while growing strong. The game was over. Now it was time for war, and the aliens still had no idea what was about to. Admiral Kethvor of the Council's Third Fleet was not worried as his ships approached the human colony on Kepler 442b. He had done this 43 times before with 43 different species. It was always the same. His fleet would arrive at the primitive colony. The terrified aliens would see his massive ships and immediately surrender. If they were stubborn, he would destroy 1 or 2 of their buildings with a warning shot. Then they would surrender. No species had ever actually fought back. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are approaching the human colony. Sensors show approximately 8,000 inhabitants, mostly engaged in agricultural activities." Admiral Kethvor nodded. 8,000 farmers with primitive weapons against his fleet of 200 warships. This would be over in minutes. "Open a channel to the colony," he ordered. The main screen showed a pleasant-looking human settlement. Green fields stretched to the horizon. Small buildings dotted the landscape. Children were playing in a schoolyard. It looked peaceful and innocent. A human appeared on the screen. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and dirt on her hands from working in the fields. "Hello," she said with a smile. "I'm Governor Minjung Park. Welcome to New Seoul Colony." "Are you here to trade?" Admiral Kethvor was surprised. Usually, primitive species were terrified when his fleet appeared. This human seemed genuinely happy to see him. "I am Admiral Kethvor of the Galactic Council," he said in his most official voice. "This colony is in violation of Council decree. You have 10 minutes to prepare for evacuation." Governor Minjung Park tilted her head like she was confused. "Evacuation? I'm sorry, Admiral, but I don't understand. Is there some kind of emergency? Your species has been ordered to return to your homeworld. This colony must be abandoned." The human woman's face showed surprise, then concern. "Oh my, that sounds very serious. May I please have a few hours to discuss this with my people? We have families here, you know. Children and elderly folks who need special care during travel." Admiral Kethvor felt a little uncomfortable. The human seemed so innocent and helpless. Maybe he could give them a little extra time. "You have 1 hour," he said. "After that, we will begin forcible evacuation procedures." "Thank you so much, Admiral." "You're very kind." The transmission ended. Admiral Kethvor turned to his tactical officer. "Maintain standard formation." Prepare evacuation transports. What Admiral Kethvor did not know was that Governor Minjung Park was actually Colonel Minjung Park, one of the most decorated combat veterans in the Earth Defense Force. The farmers working in the fields were members of the 7th Colonial Defense Regiment. The children playing in the schoolyard were teenage cadets learning advanced military tactics, and the agricultural equipment scattered around the colony was about to transform into the most advanced defensive system the galaxy had ever seen. Lieutenant Yuna Choi was hiding in an asteroid field 12 million kilometers away, watching Admiral Kethvor's fleet through her ship's sensors. Her cargo vessel had been trailing the alien fleet for 6 days, completely invisible to their detectors. "Command, this is Scout 7, she whispered into her communicator. "The trap is set. Council fleet is in position. They're following standard pacification formation. Big ships in front, support vessels in the rear. No screening force. Copy, Scout 7, came the reply from Captain Hyunwoo Kim. "Are they showing any signs of suspicion?" "Negative. They're completely relaxed. I don't think they've even charged their weapons." "Understood. Begin Phase 2. Yuna smiled and pressed a series of buttons on her control panel. All around the Council fleet, hidden beacon transmitters activated. The aliens had no idea that their entire formation was now being tracked by the most advanced targeting computers humanity had ever built. On the surface of Kepler 442b, Governor Minjung Park was addressing her people over the colony's communication system. To any alien listening, it sounded like a peaceful community meeting about their upcoming evacuation. "Attention, everyone," she said in a calm voice. "Our guests have given us 1 hour to prepare for departure. Please gather your families and report to your assigned stations." But the colonists heard different words than the aliens did. Hidden in Governor Park's speech was a code that every human on the planet understood perfectly. Families meant combat units. Assigned stations meant battle positions. Departure meant the start of hostilities. All across the colony, farmers put down their tools and picked up weapons. Teachers stopped their lessons and activated hidden defense systems. Children who had been playing games suddenly became young soldiers moving with military precision. The transformation took exactly 17 minutes. By the time it was complete, the peaceful farming colony had become a fortress that could withstand an assault by 10 times Admiral Kethvor's force. Captain Hyunwoo Kim waited in the shadow of Kepler 442b's largest moon. The EDF Incheon and 15 other ships hung motionless in space, their engines cold, their weapons powered down. To alien sensors, they looked like floating debris. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "all ships report ready. Colonial defense is in position. Lieutenant Choi has confirmed target lock on all enemy vessels. Weapon status? All torpedo tubes loaded. Railguns charged. Electronic warfare system standing by." Captain Hyunwoo Kim looked at the tactical display. Admiral Kethvor's fleet was spread out in a loose formation, completely unprepared for combat. In 50 years of pacification missions, they had never encountered real resistance. They had grown lazy. "Signal from Admiral Park, sir. We are authorized to engage." Hyunwoo took a deep breath. In the next few minutes, humanity would either announce itself as a major galactic power or be destroyed trying. "All ships," he said into his communicator. "This is Captain Kim. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten human families. Begin attack." Admiral Kethvor was reviewing the evacuation schedule when his tactical officer suddenly started shouting, "Sir, multiple contacts, ships decloaking off our starboard flank." "What?" Admiral Kethvor spun around to look at his displays. Impossible. His sensor showed 16 human ships where empty space had been just seconds before. How did they get so close without being detected? "Unknown, sir. And we're receiving weapons lock warnings from the planetary surface." The main screen lit up with alerts. All across the colony below, installations that had looked like farms and schools were revealing themselves as missile silos and gun batteries. The peaceful settlement was bristling with enough firepower to destroy a battle fleet. "Sir," another officer called out, "we're detecting multiple torpedo launches." "Incoming." Admiral Kethvor felt something he had never experienced in 43 pacification missions. Fear. "All ships. Battle stations. Return fire." But his fleet was caught completely off guard. They were in peaceful formation, not combat formation. Their weapons were not charged. Their shields were not raised. They had expected to fight helpless farmers, not trained soldiers. Captain Hyunwoo Kim watched as his torpedoes tore through the alien formation. The Council ships were tough, but they were not prepared for the kind of concentrated firepower that human ships could deliver. "Direct hit on their flagship," reported his weapons officer. "Their shields are down to 60%. Target their engines," Hyunwoo ordered. "I want them alive to send a message." The human attack was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Instead of fighting ship to ship in honorable combat, the humans used coordinated tactics that struck from multiple directions at once. Ships that looked like cargo haulers suddenly revealed massive weapons. The colonists on the planet below were firing missiles with pinpoint accuracy. Most shocking of all, the humans were targeting specific systems on the alien ships instead of just trying to destroy them. They hit engines to prevent escape. They hit communications to stop coordination. They hit weapons to prevent return fire. It was like fighting ghosts who knew exactly where to strike for maximum effect. Admiral Kethvor tried to rally his fleet, but everything was going wrong. His ships could not communicate with each other because human jamming systems were blocking their frequencies. His weapons could not lock onto the human ships because they were using some kind of stealth technology he had never seen before. "Sir," his communications officer yelled over the sound of alarms, "the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it on screen." Governor Minjung Park appeared on the display. She was no longer the kind farmer who had greeted them an hour ago. Now she wore military uniform and her voice was hard as steel. "Attention, Council Fleet. You came here to remove peaceful colonists from their homes. You found soldiers instead. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting and we will destroy every ship in your fleet." Admiral Kethvor looked at his tactical display. In 30 minutes of combat, he had lost 60 ships. The humans had lost none. His remaining vessels were scattered and damaged. The human fleet was closing in for the kill. For the first time in Council history, a pacification fleet was not just losing. It was being completely destroyed by the very people it had come to pacify. "Sir?" his tactical officer asked quietly. "Your orders?" Admiral Kethvor stared at the screen showing Governor Park's stern face. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in their 300-year history. Representatives from 12 species sat in the Great Hall, but instead of their usual calm discussion, voices were raised in panic and anger. Chancellor Vexmore's 3 mouths were all speaking at once, trying to restore order. "Silence! We must approach this situation with wisdom and careful thought." But wisdom was in short supply. News of Admiral Kethvor's defeat had spread across the galaxy in just 2 days. For the first time ever, a Council pacification fleet had been completely destroyed. Worse, the humans had broadcast the entire battle on public communication channels. "This is impossible," declared Senator Thex Wynn of the Altarian Confederation. His tall, thin frame shook with rage. "No primitive species has weapons that advanced. They must have received help from an outside power." "From whom?" asked Councillor Melandra of the Crystalline Hegemony. Her translucent blue form flickered with nervous energy. "We are the only advanced civilization in this part of the galaxy." Dr. Jin-Ho Lee was watching the emergency session from his hidden observation post. The aliens had no idea that humans had been monitoring their communications for 50 years. Every word they spoke was being recorded and analyzed. "They're scared," he reported to Admiral Somin Park. "Good. Fear makes enemies make mistakes." "What about their military response?" "They're calling up reserve fleets from all 12 member species. Approximately 2,000 ships all converging on human space. They're planning to end this quickly before word spreads to other species." Admiral Somin Park nodded. "Let them come." Captain Kim is ready. Captain Hyunwoo Kim was indeed ready. The victory at Kepler 442b had been just the beginning. While the Council argued in their Great Hall, human strike forces were moving through space like hunting wolves. "Target identified," reported Lieutenant Yuna Choi from her scout ship. "Council Supply Depot, Sigma Draconis System. Light defenses, approximately 50 support vessels." "Any civilians?" Captain Hyunwoo Kim asked. "Negative. This is a pure military installation. Fuel, ammunition, and repair facilities for Council fleets." "Good. Begin the attack." The raid on Sigma Draconis lasted exactly 18 minutes. Human ships appeared without warning, destroyed the depot's defenses, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The entire operation was broadcast live on every communication channel in the galaxy. The message was clear. Nowhere was safe from human retaliation. Across Council space, similar attacks were happening every day. Communication relays that took centuries to build were destroyed in minutes. Military bases that had never seen combat were reduced to floating debris. Transport convoys carrying supplies to Council fleets simply disappeared. Each attack followed the same pattern. Human ships would appear from nowhere, strike with devastating precision, and vanish before the Council could respond. The humans never targeted civilian populations, but every military installation in Council space was now a potential target. Most terrifying of all, the humans seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum impact. They hit fuel depots right before major fleet movements. They destroyed communication hubs just as Council forces were trying to coordinate their response. They attacked repair facilities that specific damaged ships were heading toward. It was as if the humans could read the Council's minds. Chancellor Vexmore was beginning to understand the horrible truth. "They've been watching us," he said during a private meeting with his top military advisors. "For years, maybe decades. They know our procedures, our tactics, our weaknesses." "That's impossible," insisted Fleet Admiral Kexthu. "Our security is perfect. No primitive species could penetrate our networks." "Then explain how they always know exactly where to attack." Chancellor Vexmore's three mouths snarled at once. "Explain how they can predict our fleet movements. Explain how they destroyed Kethvor's entire force without losing a single ship." Fleet Admiral Kexthu had no answers. None of them did. Dr. Jinho Lee was enjoying the aliens' confusion immensely. For 50 years, his teams had been slowly infiltrating Council computer systems, not by force but by patience. A small program here, a hidden subroutine there, all disguised as routine maintenance updates. The aliens had such advanced technology that they never imagined a primitive species could hack into their networks. They had no firewalls, no security protocols, no defensive measures at all. To them, the idea that another species might try to steal information was simply unthinkable. Now those decades of preparation were paying off. Every Council ship, every base, every communication relay was being watched by hidden human programs. The aliens thought they were fighting an enemy they could see. In reality, they were fighting an enemy that had been inside their systems for decades. "Admiral," Dr. Jinho Lee reported, "Council fleets are starting to withdraw from forward positions. They're pulling back to defend their core worlds." "Excellent," Admiral Somin Park replied. "Fear is making them predictable. What about their communication networks?" "Completely compromised. I can read their orders before their own ships receive them." Admiral Somin Park smiled. The Council was reacting exactly as human military planners had predicted they would. Faced with an enemy they couldn't understand, they were falling back on standard defensive procedures that had worked for centuries. But those procedures had never been tested against an enemy that could read their communications in real time. Lieutenant Yuna Choi received her new orders while hiding in the asteroid belt around the Council's primary military base at Proxima Centauri. Her mission was simple but devastating. Destroy the base's command and control systems without harming the personnel. "This is a psychological operation," Captain Hyun-Woo Kim had explained. "We want them scared, not dead."
"Dead enemies can't spread fear."
"Living enemies who have been humiliated will tell everyone how powerful we are." Yuna's ship approached the massive space station disguised as a damaged cargo vessel requesting emergency repairs. The Council guards, following standard humanitarian protocols, allowed her to dock. What happened next became legend throughout the galaxy. A single human operative infiltrated the most secure military installation in Council space, disabled their entire defense network, and escaped without firing a shot. Security cameras showed a small figure in a maintenance uniform, walking calmly through corridors while alarms blared and guards ran in confusion. By the time the Council realized they had been infiltrated, Yuna was already safely away. Behind her, the military base that controlled fleet movements for 3-star systems was completely blind and helpless. The psychological impact was enormous. If one human could walk into their most secure facility and disable it single-handedly, what could an entire human army do? Captain Hyun-Woo Kim was coordinating the largest operation yet. Simultaneous attacks on 3 major Council worlds. Not to conquer them, but to prove that humanity could strike anywhere in the galaxy. Remember, he told his fleet commanders. "We're not trying to occupy these planets. We're sending a message. Hit their orbital defenses, destroy their military shipyards, and leave. Make sure the civilian population sees everything, but don't harm them." "What if they try to surrender?" asked one of his captains. "Accept the surrender, treat the prisoners well, and make sure everyone knows about it. We want other species to see that humans are strong but honorable." The attacks were flawlessly executed. Human fleets appeared in 3 different star systems at exactly the same time. Within hours, the orbital defenses around 3 council worlds were destroyed. Military shipyards that had been building warships for centuries were reduced to scrap metal, but the civilian populations were untouched. Human ships even provided medical aid to injured council personnel and helped evacuate damaged space stations. The contrast with the council's own brutal pacification methods was not lost on anyone watching. News of the triple strike spread across the galaxy faster than light. For the first time in 300 years, council worlds had been successfully attacked. But instead of conquest and destruction, the humans had shown mercy and restraint. Other species began to take notice. If the mighty Galactic Council could be defeated, what did that mean for the rest of the galaxy? Riots broke out on several council member worlds as populations demanded to know why their governments had failed to protect them. Some species began secretly negotiating with human representatives, trying to arrange non-aggression pacts before the war spread to their systems. Most shocking of all, 3 minor species that had been considering joining the council suddenly withdrew their applications. If council membership meant becoming a target for human retaliation, they wanted no part of it. Chancellor Vexmore watched his carefully constructed galactic order crumbling around him. The council had maintained peace for 3 centuries through overwhelming force and the threat of pacification. But their strength had always depended on the belief that resistance was impossible. The humans had shattered that belief. Worse, they had done it while showing honor and restraint that made the council look like brutal tyrants by comparison. "We have to end this quickly," he told his advisors. "Every day this war continues, more species question our authority. If we don't crush the humans soon, the entire galactic order will collapse. What do you recommend?" asked Fleet Admiral Kexthu. Chancellor Vexmore's 3 mouths all spoke the same. The largest fleet in galactic history approached the Sol system like a slow-moving storm cloud. 3,200 ships from 12 different species, all united under one purpose: destroy Earth and end the human threat forever. Chancellor Vexmore stood on the bridge of the massive flagship Eternal Order, watching the blue-green planet grow larger on his screens. Somewhere down there, 8 billion humans were waiting for their final judgment. "Fleet status report," he ordered. "All ships in formation, Chancellor," replied Fleet Admiral Kexthu. "Battle groups from every member species are ready. The humans cannot possibly stand against this much firepower." Chancellor Vexmore nodded. The Council had never assembled a force this large, not even during the Great Unification Wars 3 centuries ago. Every available warship in Council space was here. This was not just a battle. It was the complete annihilation of a species that had dared to challenge galactic order. "Sir," called the tactical officer, "we are detecting human ships moving to intercept." "How many?" "Approximately 800 vessels." Chancellor Vexmore felt a moment of satisfaction. 800 ships against over 3,000. The humans were brave, but they were also clearly insane. Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood in the command center of the EDF Incheon, now revealed as one of the most advanced battleships ever built. Around him, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency, despite facing impossible odds. "All ships report ready, Captain," said his communications officer. "Colonial defense fleets have arrived from all 17 human worlds. Admiral Park sends her compliments and says we are clear to engage." Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display showing the massive alien armada. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Thousands of ships in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of Sol. Any other species would have surrendered at the sight. But humans had never been like any other species. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Today we fight for our families, our homes, and our right to exist as free beings in this galaxy. Let's show them what humans do when cornered." Dr. Jin-Ho Lee was coordinating the electronic warfare assault from his hidden facility. For 50 years he had been placing dormant programs in Council computer systems. Now, with their entire fleet gathered in one place, it was time to activate them all. Beginning cyber attack, he reported to Admiral Somin Park, targeting their command and control networks. His fingers flew over the keyboard, sending activation codes to thousands of hidden programs scattered throughout the alien fleet. Within minutes, chaos began spreading through the Council's carefully organized formation. Admiral Kexthu was the first to notice something was wrong. "Sir, I'm receiving conflicting orders from different ships. Some vessels are reporting their navigation systems are malfunctioning." "What kind of malfunctions?" Chancellor Vexmore demanded. "Ships are turning without orders. Weapons are powering down randomly. Some vessels report their computers are showing false targeting data." The truth was worse than Admiral Kexthu realized. The humans had not just hacked into Council systems, they had turned the aliens' own technology against them. Ships that tried to fire found their weapons targeting their own allies. Navigation systems that had worked perfectly for centuries suddenly forgot which direction was forward. Most devastating of all, the communication network that held the massive fleet together was dissolving into electronic chaos. Ship commanders could not reach their subordinates. Battlegroup leaders could not coordinate with each other. The carefully planned assault was turning into a confused mob. Lieutenant Yuna Choi led the first wave of human fighters into the alien formation. Her squadron of 40 ships dove straight into the middle of 3,000 enemy vessels, a suicidal move that should have resulted in instant annihilation. Instead, it was the beginning of the most one-sided battle in galactic history. The Council ships could not coordinate their defense because their computers were compromised. They could not target the human fighters because their sensors were being jammed by their own systems. They could not even communicate with each other, because every time they tried to send a message, it was intercepted and corrupted by human programs. Yuna's fighters moved through the alien formation like sharks through a school of fish. They struck at engines and weapon systems with surgical precision, disabling ships without destroying them. The goal was not to kill the alien crews, but to leave them helpless and humiliated. "This is incredible," Yuna reported to Captain Hyunwoo Kim. "They can't fight back at all. Their own systems are fighting against them." "Stay focused," Hyunwoo replied. "Remember, we want prisoners, not corpses. Disable and move on." The main human fleet engaged the alien vanguard with tactics that no Council species had ever seen before. Instead of fighting ship to ship in traditional formations, human vessels worked in small groups that supported each other while remaining highly mobile. When alien ships tried to concentrate their fire on one human vessel, that ship would disappear behind a screen of electronic jamming, while its partners struck from unexpected angles. When the aliens attempted to surround human forces, they found themselves fighting enemies that could accelerate faster, turn sharper, and coordinate better than anything in their experience. Most shocking of all, the human ships were using the aliens' own weapons against them. Council vessels that tried to fire missiles found their projectiles turning around and targeting their launch ships. Energy beams that should have burned through human hulls were somehow being reflected back at their sources. Captain Hyunwoo Kim watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. 50 years of studying alien technology had taught human engineers exactly how to neutralize it. Every weapon system, every defensive measure, every tactical advantage the Council possessed had been analyzed. "Understood and countered." "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the alien fleet is starting to break formation. Some ships are trying to retreat." "Let them go," Hyunwoo ordered. "We want survivors to tell the story of what happened here." Chancellor Vexmore stared at his tactical displays in growing horror. His overwhelming force of 3,000 ships was being systematically dismantled by 800 human vessels. Worse, it was happening so quickly that he could barely follow the action. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "How can their ships move so fast? How are they jamming our communications? How are they turning our weapons against us?" Fleet Admiral Kexthu had no answers. Nothing in his centuries of military experience had prepared him for this kind of warfare. The humans fought like nothing the Council had ever encountered, with vicious creativity, perfect coordination, and a complete disregard for what was supposed to be possible. "Sir," called his communications officer, "I'm receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander. He's requesting to speak with you directly." "Put it on screen." Captain Hyunwoo Kim's face appeared on the main display. Behind him, the bridge of his ship was calm and orderly, a stark contrast to the chaos on the Council flagship. "Chancellor Vexmore," Hyunwoo said politely, "I am Captain Kim of the Earth Defense Force. I'm calling to offer you terms for surrender. Chancellor Vexmore's three mouths all opened in shock. Surrender? You're outnumbered 4-1. Actually, Hyunwoo replied with a slight smile. You're outnumbered. Look at your tactical display, Chancellor. How many of your ships are still combat effective? Chancellor Vexmore looked at his screens and felt his heart skip a beat. In just 2 hours of combat, over half his fleet was disabled or destroyed. The humans had lost fewer than 50 ships. This is impossible, he whispered. No, Chancellor. This is what happens when you underestimate your enemy for 50 years. You gave us time to study you, to understand your weaknesses, and to prepare for this moment. Did you really think a species that survived 2 global wars would be easily defeated? Admiral So-Min Park was monitoring the battle from her command center when Dr. Jin-Ho Lee brought her the most important news of the war. Admiral, we're receiving surrender offers from member species within the Council fleet. The Altarians want to negotiate separate peace terms. 3 other species are requesting immediate ceasefire agreements. Good, Admiral So-Min Park replied. Accept all offers of surrender. Make sure the terms are generous but clear. No more aggression against human space, full recognition of human sovereignty, and reparations for the damages caused by this war. What about the hegemony? Admiral So-Min Park looked at the tactical display showing Chancellor Vexmore's flagship, surrounded by disabled vessels and burning debris. They'll surrender too. They don't have any choice left. The final surrender came 6 hours after the battle began. Chancellor Vexmore, his fleet in ruins and his authority shattered, formally submitted to human terms. The Great Galactic Council, which had ruled the galaxy for 3 centuries, was finished. But the real transformation was just beginning. Ambassador Tae-Jin Sung stood once again in the council hall, but everything had changed. The floating platforms that had once looked down on him were now arranged in a circle, with Earth's representative at the center. The aliens who had laughed at humanity's refusal to surrender now listened carefully to every word he spoke. The new galactic confederation will be based on principles of mutual respect and voluntary cooperation, Tae-Jin announced. No species will be forcing.